Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Congregation at Montclair. My name is Marcus Greyhawk. My pronouns are he, him, and his. I serve as the Director of Music Ministries for our congregation. It's good to be with you once again. If you're watching this service live on Facebook or YouTube, we invite you, as always, to share your name and, if you wish, your location in the comments section. The first hymn we're going to sing this morning is Love Will Guide Us, with lyrics by the contemporary songwriter Sally Rogers. The melody is a traditional hymn tune, and it's named Olympia after Olympia Brown, the Universalist minister who in 1863 became the first woman in the United States to be ordained with the support of a national denomination. As the Reverend Kimberly Liebes writes, like many before her and many since, she was warned. An explanation was given, nevertheless, she persisted. The hymns today will be led by our members Jennifer Rittner and Ray Dumont.
Love will guide us, peace has tried us, hope inside us will lead the way. On the road from need to giving, love will guide us through the hard night. If you cannot sing like angels, if you cannot speak before thousands, you can give from deep within you. You can change the world with your mouth. You are like no other being. What you can give, no other can give. To the future, our precious children. To the future of the world where we live. Hear the song of peace may take you. Hear the song of peace in your heart. Each new beginning shall lead to the harvest. Love will guide us on our way. Love will guide us on our way. Love will guide us on our way. We would be one as now we join in singing our hymn of love to pledge ourselves anew to that high cause of greater understanding of who we are and what in us is true. We would be one in living for each other to show to all a new community. We would be one in building for tomorrow a nobler world than we have known today. We would be one in searching for that meaning which finds our hearts and points us on our way. As one we pledge ourselves to greater service, with love and justice strive to make us free.
Whoever you are, wherever you come from, whatever age, identity, history, ability, gender, or sexual orientation, we welcome you to bring your full self here. I'm Reverend Anya Samler-Michael, she, her, hers.
And I'm Reverend Scott Samler-Michael, he, him, and his.
Grounded in faith, we come together to nurture the soul, inspire hope, and bring into being a more just and loving world.
And happy Valentine's Day. Today's service is all about love, titled Beloved Stories. It's a different kind of service for the beginning of our pledge season where we inspire you to pledge financial support for next year's programs and ministries. We will tell stories about UU Montclair's inspiring history, how our DNA as a congregation provides a mighty example of sacrifice and service. Our congregation's story helps energize us to reunite and rise together, creating tomorrow's congregation today.
And just last week, we shared our new welcome video commissioned by our membership team and developed by filmmaker Scotty Moore with Michael Drucker, Sheila Eby, and Beth Smith, among many, many others. You can find it on our website, YouTube page, and social media. Please spread the word by sharing the video with your friends, family, and community members. And if you're joining us today at 10 a.m., please continue with us for a virtual connection cafe beginning at 11 a.m. Eastern, where today you can meet with our welcome video crew and learn about their process.
It's time to light our chalice, a beacon to guide us through these times together. Perhaps you have a chalice or a candle at home, anything that you can illumine. Let us light our collective chalices as we share our chalice lighting affirmation.
Let us open our senses to take in the beauty. Let us open our minds to learn what is true. Let us open our hearts to love one another.
Where do we come from? What are we? Where are we going? Where do we come from? What are we? Where are we going? Where do we come from? Where do we come from? Mystery, mystery. Life is a riddle and a mystery. Mystery, mystery. Life is a riddle and a mystery. Where do we come from? Where are we going?
Where do we come from? What are we? Where are we going?
Our Time for All Ages is a chance to answer these questions as best as we can. First, where do we come from?
We, you and I, and all the friends and visitors of our congregation, we come from smart women who decided they did not like the narrow-minded religion being taught to children in most churches in town. So they gathered to form our congregation.
So we come also from the walls of this sanctuary, built by industrious ancestors in 1905.
We come from the Spanish flu of 1918, when those who came before us closed their doors of our beautiful sanctuary to the pandemic of their time. But now, who are we?
Who are we? Well, we are the descendants of ancestors that also had to contend with a fire that torched the roof of their sanctuary home on March 2nd, some 102 years ago.
And we are the ancestors of a people who raised the equivalent of $500,000
$500,000?
to save their faith home and rebuild that congregation. So now, where are we going?
We are going in the direction that they taught us to go. We are serving the world, sustaining community, even now when we too have been devastated by a pandemic. We are going in the direction they knew we must go, out into the world and yet always towards one another. Now, where do we come from?
We come from builders, sustainers, fighters for truth, love, and justice.
What are we?
We are this congregation, the Unitarian Universalist congregation at Montclair.
And where are we going?
We are going out into the world, and yet, of course, always toward one another, composing a story that people 100 years from now will celebrate and share with their children's children's children.
Wow, that's a whole lot of children's children's children.
Well, that's one way to grow a congregation.
All right.
So may it be.
Called now by this Time for All Ages into worship, we turn to seek a soft meditation, a deep reflection, an ardent prayer, each as we are called, yet all together. And we enter into this space by hearing the lamentations, the requests, and the remembrances of our community. Let us hear one another to heal one another. Judy Reinierson lights a candle of deep sorrow for her former Australian paralegal, Karen Den Toll, who died last weekend after a brief battle with liver cancer. Karen graduated from law school and became a leading lawyer. Nick and Judy recently had dinner with Karen and her 9-year-old daughter, and Nick and Judy are both heartbroken. Shannon Gattens lights a candle of support and healing for her friend Robert, whose father suffered a massive stroke last week and remains in critical condition. We light this candle of healing for Judy Reinierson and her 3 sisters who are mourning the loss of their beloved aunt, Seal, who died after a brief illness this week. Seal, their mother's younger sister, was in her 90s and was a spunky, fun, and loving aunt that they will all miss dearly. We light this candle in witness and in vigilance. Throughout this pandemic, anti-Asian violence has spiked. Recent deadly incidents continue. This candle reminds us of our commitment to build a community where the kinship of all humanity is clearly visible and upheld. And we light these 2 final candles for the joys and sorrows that have not been spoken aloud. In the silence that follows, you are encouraged to speak the names of those that you are holding in your prayers or meditations, or you may choose to write them into the chat. May we hold this silence as this silence holds us. May our listening bring forth acts of love. I love you. And not just because it's Valentine's Day. I love you because it is love that weaves us together in community, bold love, bounded love, accountable love, covenanted love. Sometimes I'm convinced that if the holy had a singular name, it must be love. Will you join me now, beloved, in a spirit of prayer? Love knows. Love knows that we are not always kind, not always prepared, not always receptive. Love knows that we falter. Love, remind us that we are already forgiven. And love knows that we struggle, that we stumble, that we ache, that we lament. Love, remind us that we are connected. And love knows that we are trying, that we work hard, that we push through exhaustion, that we wake up and reach out again. Love, remind us to rest in your constant embrace. Amen.
Oh, somebody's hurting my sibling, and it's gone on far too long. Yes, it's gone on far too long. my neighbor, and it's gone on far too long. Yes, it's gone on far too long. Yes, it's gone on far too long. Somebody's threatening my neighbor, and it's gone on far too long. And we won't be silent anymore.
May we all find the courage to keep our neighbors and siblings free from harm. When you give to our offering, 80% of your gift will care for the Unitarian Universalist congregation at Montclair, and 20% will support our justice recipient. Our February Sharing Our Riches recipient is UU Faith Action, New Jersey. Faith Action is a social advocacy network representing the Unitarian Universalist congregations of New Jersey, and has been supported and often led by our congregation's members. Working for 11 years with coalition partners, Faith Action acts as a moral voice in the public sphere, supporting environmental justice, immigration rights, reproductive freedom, criminal justice reform, and gun violence prevention, while recognizing that all issues must be viewed through an anti-racist, anti-oppressive lens. You can text to give, mail us a check, or go to our homepage and click on the donate button. This is a time of need. All of your gifts are worthy, and they are received with love. This Sunday is the first Sunday of the 2021 Pledge Campaign. Please enjoy this video, which tells important stories about our congregation's history, inviting us to dream how we hope to honor that history with our donations of time, talent, and treasure, as we reunite and rise together, creating the community of tomorrow, today.
We moved here in September of 1961 and began coming to church almost immediately, and we joined in January of 1962. My involvement through it mostly focused in music. I got involved along with Bill Workinger in Unity Concerts. This is a series that was started in 1920.
The people who came to perform and speak at the Unity Concerts and Lectures were barrier breakers, those who laid the foundation for social justice movements of the 20th century and the movements towards intersectionalism in the 21st century. Marian Anderson came to perform at Unity when she was just 23 years old. Paul Robeson, actor, singer, athlete, scholar, and lawyer, blackballed for his political beliefs. Yasha Heifetz, the champion of social justice and the environment. He performed at Unity when he was 24. Amelia Earhart came after her famous non-stop solo transatlantic flight. And W.E.B. Du Bois, one of the giants of 20th century thought. The Unity Concerts and Speaker Series was actually created to pay for the rebuilding of our sanctuary after the devastating fire that almost destroyed our congregation 100 years ago.
Well, we had a rather large group of accomplished musicians in the church and dancers. Phyllis was a professional dancer.
She started the whole thing. It was all her. It wouldn't have occurred without her. She was always good at choreography.
We had fun. We had fun. We laughed and giggled and try that one again or something. And if it didn't work for the one person that I was working with, we just worked our way through it so it looked good to me. None of the dancers except Kathy Hurling and my daughter Laura had any experience with dancing. So it was a miracle.
Yes.
But they did what they did. We were friends. She came to church and we got friendly, and she was dancing somewhere or whatever, and so we just went together, that's all.
Bill would play, I would play. Norman Fletcher would sometimes get up and read poetry. And they were just wonderful, wonderful musical evenings. I had the great pleasure and honor of working with Karen Freed to re-envision the interior of this sanctuary. So it transformed the building. It used to be wood. That's all you saw was the wood with beige paint in between. This is my 59th year as a member here, and I've never ever doubted why I joined. It's been a spiritual journey for me and a community journey. This place generates that kind of people coming forth. This is a thriving, wonderful, wonderful community. And I can't wait for us all to get back together again.
In his book, The Storytelling Animal, Jonathan Gottschall writes, 10,000 years ago, when the human mind was young and our numbers were few, we were telling one another stories. And now, tens of thousands of years later, when our species teems across the globe, we still thrill to an astonishing multitude of fictions on pages, on stages, and on screens. We should be known as the primate Homo fictus, the great ape with the storytelling mind. You might not realize it, but you are a creature of an imaginary realm called Neverland. Neverland is your home, and before you die, you will spend decades there. If you haven't noticed this before, do not despair. Story is for a human, as water is for a fish. All-encompassing and not quite palpable. While your body is always fixed to a particular point in space-time, your mind is always free to ramble in lands of make-believe. And ramble it does. Our lives are so bound up in story that we are insensitive to their weird and witchy power. In short, nothing so central to the human condition is so incompletely understood, as is the fact that we are, one and all, storytelling animals. Today's anthem is Wondrous Stories, composed by John Anderson, first recorded by his band, yes, in 1977. Playing their special adaptation for us are our own Paul Lombardo and Juliana Carr.
I awoke this morning, love laid me down by the river. Drifting I turned on upstream, bound for my forgiver. In the giving of my eyes to see your face, sound did silence me, leaving no trace. I beg to leave to hear your wondrous stories. Beg to hear your wondrous stories. La la la. He spoke of lands not far, nor lands they were in his mind. of fusion captured high, where reason captured his time. In no time at all he took me to the gate. In haste I quickly checked the time. If I was late, I had to leave to hear your wondrous stories. Had to hear your wondrous stories. La 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 la. Hearing your wondrous stories. Hearing your wondrous stories. It is no lie, I see deeply into the future. Imagine everything, you're close, and were you there to stand so cautiously at first, and then so high? As he spoke, my spirit climbed into the sky. I bid it to return to hear your wondrous stories. Return to hear your wondrous stories. Return to hear your wondrous stories. La 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 la. Hearing, 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 hearing.
I bid to return and to hear your wondrous stories. Thank you, Paul and Juliana, for that song. As our reading shares, human beings are storytelling animals. I come from a rich storytelling tradition. My family's particular slice of Irish heritage includes a love of telling long, detailed stories, sometimes with little point beyond the sheer joy of telling the stories themselves, that unparalleled delight of watching people be entranced or amazed at a good tale spun well. Ask Reverend Anya about how easy it is to lose an hour when someone asks my brother and I a simple question about, well, anything. There's always a long story attached. And I speak of story today because is not the currency of congregational life beloved stories. Today we will hear wondrous stories about this very congregation. Our tale is informed by the work of Nancy Knertzer and our archivist Becky Doggett and Irene Sanderson, as well as scores of others. The Unitarian Universalist congregation at Montclair, it dates back to February 1897, when a few women met to consider the feasibility of forming a Unitarian society to provide a liberal religious education for their children. These women included Martha Brown, Nettie Hemphill, Susie Louise Dix, and Abby Angel. Calling themselves the Woman's Alliance, they began a Sunday school in their homes almost immediately. Indeed, Sunday school began here before the preaching. They called Reverend Arthur Grant as their first minister in 1898, renting a loft on Bloomfield Avenue, and the adults finally had their program. They bought land in 1903, and on January 1905, they dedicated our current sanctuary here at 67 Church Street. And our name then was Unity Church Montclair. "Nothing human is alien to me" was the motto of our congregation in those early years. Our congregation's deep feminist roots are shown by the fact that Mother Jones, the famous labor organizer, was among the many women who spoke here during a lecture series held in those days. And our 10th anniversary sermon, 1907, was preached by Reverend Anna Garland Spencer, one of the very few women ministers at that time. It was 1906 when Reverend Edgar Swan Weirs became minister here, serving for 25 years. Dr. Weirs helped establish Unity Concerts and the Unity Forum, that lecture series featuring eminent thinkers and authors like Mother Jones, as I shared, or Langston Hughes, Clarence Darrow, A. Philip Randolph. They all spoke here. Keenly interested in the cultural life of the broader community, Reverend Weirs began screening a series of movies here, the popularity of which caused the township of Montclair to rethink their restrictive blue laws and issue a license to finally open a movie theater in town. Under Reverend Weirs' leadership, our congregation also addressed the high cost of living by inspiring the church to open a cooperative grocery and a butcher shop. They began a pioneering series of classes teaching sex hygiene. The congregation built a playground in its backyard over here by Valley Road when they saw that children in town had few places to play. Our congregation developed a reputation as people standing for freedom and independence and religious thought, all in the service of humanity. And when Dr. Weirs died suddenly in 1931, he was mourned by the church and the township alike. Indeed, during his ministry, our congregation not only helped revise the town, they transformed themselves. A crucial part of our story, one to which we can all relate here in the time of COVID, began in October 1918. This was when our congregation was forced to shut down in response to the Spanish flu pandemic for 6 whole months. Scheduled to reopen on April 1st, 1919, our building caught fire on March 2nd. It caught fire because the library next to us, which is now the building housing our main offices and the Pearls Room today, the library was burning rubbish in an open flame, apparently something not uncommon in that time. Well, that fire jumped onto our roof, and our sanctuary was devastated. Our entire roof burned and collapsed inward, as you saw in the film today that Jerry Freed produced for us. And at that time, this building was only 15 years old. Well, Reverend Weirs and the congregation quickly regrouped. They began meeting in people's homes and rented commercial spaces and even outside on Packanack Mountain up near Wayne when weather permitted. Percy Granger, a popular Australian pianist, was already scheduled to play a concert here that April as part of the reopening festivities. So our ancestors repurposed that concert so the entire proceeds of the sold-out concert were seed money for a rebuilding fund. Just 2 months later, that fund reached $32,000, $500,000 in today's dollars, and we were able to engage Leslie Walker, the original architect, to plan the renovation. beloved, wondrous stories. When our spiritual ancestors rebuilt, they built this place back bigger and better with a focus on their mission. They imagined how they could better serve the people of this town, the people of this congregation, and the understanding of the holy as they knew it. So when they rebuilt, they added Fletcher Hall, they added our kitchen, and they added the Alliance Room, named after the women pioneers who were the true founders of this congregation. So try and place yourselves in their shoes amidst this wondrous story. Our spiritual ancestors, following a fire, soon after the First World War, where a member of this congregation, Paul Osborne, was the first American killed, suffering through a global pandemic, all of these trials, they dug deep. They found courage, generosity, and vision, and they built the congregation of their tomorrow. They stretched, donating their own money, and they created income streams from outside their community. And in so doing, they provided us with this beautiful inheritance. And less than 1 year after that fire, Sunday, February 1st, 1920, they rededicated this facility and moved back in. What a beloved story. And it is our story and yours. Just as there are still charred timbers in our attic, relics from that fire, there is also the wondrous DNA our spiritual ancestors have bequeathed to us. We are the inheritors of this legacy of vision and generosity. We are the beneficiaries of their sacrifice and their toil. And today we're asked to do something very similar. To reach and to strive to live up to their example. Indeed, our story, beloved as it is, echoes theirs in many ways. 2021, 100 years after our congregation reopened, we imagine how we might rebuild our congregation, creating the community of tomorrow today. After a polarizing presidency that encouraged white supremacy, homophobia, and insurrection, some of us feel we have emerged from a great war, as they had. We remain in the midst of a shutdown due to the greatest public health crisis since our congregation closed back in 1918. We still do not know the date we will reopen. We saw our economy get fractured due to a venal disregard for people in need, worsened by government dysfunction, and still, we have remained faithful. We have remained engaged in the ministries and programs of this congregation. We have remained focused on the needs of our community, offering our spaces during this pandemic as a daytime warming center for our town's homeless, literally saving lives. We have remained keenly aware that our facility, our infrastructure is necessary for us to be of greater service to our mission. This is our beloved story, your beloved story. Our historic house and grounds, though admirable, are not here merely to be admired. Indeed, I like to call this place the mothership that enables us to live out our mission and to gather in celebration, support, and worship. But we know our facility needs to be upgraded in order for us to serve the needs of a congregation worthy of our ancestors. And we've begun some of those improvements already. like the Drucker Elms Project, installing the equipment and infrastructure so we can easily produce live streaming technology, keeping us connected with the dozens of people who have found us since we moved our sacred spaces online. Indeed, this sermon is being recorded on that very equipment. We are installing technology to make it easier for folks to engage our children's religious education programs. 4 classrooms will be outfitted to more easily stream our amazing, award-winning religious education programs. We're improving sound and lighting here in the sanctuary and in Fletcher Hall. We are engaging the tough work of dismantling white supremacy and other oppressions, that difficult introspection and truth-telling required to enable reconciliation and build beloved community. I wonder, what else do we need to install, to teach, to provide? What do we need to compose together? This next chapter of our beloved story. Indeed, together we seek nothing short of rebuilding and rising together to create the congregation of the next century, a congregation that will serve the unique needs of a freedom-loving, emotionally literate, intellectually honest, socially relevant, oppression-dismantling people for the next 100 years. That is our challenge. So I invite you, come and go with me. Know this story and embody its becoming. Go with me as we dig deep and give like never before. Dig deep and give because we know that what we do saves lives as it transforms us and improves our world. Help us find other revenue streams so we can effectively live into our mission of duty and service. This pledge season, Reverend Anya and I are increasing our pledge to $7,000. This is 6.5% of our pre-tax income. Now, we know we have fewer bills than most of you. We have no children. We know some of you cannot give much money at all. And know that we love and cherish you. We know that you give whatever time and talent you are able in service to the greater good. And we also know that there are some who can and will give more. That is the way of beloved community, all giving what they are able. So, beloveds, we have been presented with an opportunity to live up to this bright example of our spiritual ancestors. And I know that you will answer that call, so our story will be told 100 years from now with similar feelings of awe and glory and tears. So come, be a part of this wondrous story that we build together. A story of a people so bold that they toil headlong towards the promise of a great mission, not knowing the details of the outcome, but trusting in the faith we have in our mission and one another. And as we do this together in covenantal love, we do what no single one of us could do alone: build beloved community. Amen. And blessed be. Will you reflect with me? How do you hope the story of UU Montclair will be told 100 years from now? And now I invite you to join us all in singing, yes, in your homes, or in your cars if you're watching us from your cars, that old African-American spiritual, "Come and Go With Me."
Come and go with me to that land. Come and go with me to that land. Come and go with me to that land where I'm bound. Come and go with me to that land. Come and go with me to that land. Come and go with me to that land where I'm bound. There'll be freedom in that land. There'll be freedom in that land. There'll be freedom in that land where I'm bound. There'll be freedom in that land. There'll be freedom in that land. There'll be freedom in that land where I'm bound. There'll be justice in that land. There'll be justice in that land. There'll be justice in that land where I'm bound. There'll be justice in that land. There'll be justice in that land. There'll be justice in that land where I'm bound. There'll be singing in that land. There'll be singing in that land. There'll be singing in that land where I'm bound. There'll be singing in that land. There'll be singing in that land. There'll be singing in that land where I'm bound. Come and go with me to that land. Come and go with me to that land. Come and go with me to that land where I'm bound. Come and go with me to that land. Come and go with me to that land. Come and go with me to that land where I'm
So come and go with us to a land of glory and awe, a wondrous story we compose together. And know that you have greatness beyond your wildest imaginings, a greatness that will emerge when we rise to the example of our spiritual ancestors, reunite our community in joy and service, and create tomorrow's community, the congregation to serve the next century today.
Our worship has ended. Let our service begin. Go in peace. Go in joy. Go in love.
Join us right after this for Connection Cafe.
And as you are able, please pledge today. Go to the link, send an email to our administrator, Danielle Carlo, or mail in your pledge brochure. You can always change or stop your pledge at some later date, but pledge soon so we can build our budget and give our amazing pledge volunteers, led by Nicole Rinklin and Domingo Martinez, a break.
Yeah, they've been working hard. So together, let us compose the beloved story of UU Montclair's next 100 years. And
until we meet again,
virtually or otherwise,
you are in our hearts.
out.